we go. Good morning, good morning, good morning, beautiful people. I love it. Top of the morning to you. I literally went to Home Depot yesterday and I saw it was a leprechaun, but it was like a horror leprechaun. He had an axe. So, I don't know why that's the first thing I thought of. But top of the morning to you, okay? I want to welcome everybody into the Daily Fix. My name is Brittany Noel. I am the lead therapist in the Daily Fix. I am the lead trainer in the Daily Fix. And if you're new to the tribe, welcome, okay? The Daily Fix, let me go ahead. I'll go live on Instagram. It's our public day. So y'all know on public days, I got about 5, 6, 7 different screens open at one time. And y'all just pray for my strength, okay? Y'all know me and electronics, we have an interesting relationship. But today is our public day in the Daily Fix. We try to do one public day a month to introduce people to what the Daily Fix is, what we do every morning. So that's what you guys are tuning into. So hello Instagram, hello TikTok. I want to welcome everybody into our morning session. All right. If you're live on Instagram or live on TikTok, this is not a Q&A. This is you guys getting to watch and see what happens on the days when I am coaching in the Daily Fix. And so we're inviting you into our tribe this morning. So if you're at work, just put in your headphones and listen in, okay? If you're driving in your car, this is most of the people in Daily Fix have jobs, right? They're all working right now. And so they're normally watching me or listening to me from wherever they are, whether they're at work, whether they're at home. They're taking notes because this will be a session where you want to take some notes. And then they join in. So the way our format works in the Daily Fix, Monday and Tuesday, you guys have sessions with me, my beautiful face, okay? Wednesday, we have guest speakers come in and they give us their different takes on topics that we're talking about. Thursdays is our Heart Talks replay days. So if you ever wish you could watch the full segment of the Heart Talk shows, then you need to join the Daily Fix because the Daily Fix tribe are the only people who get access to the full Heart Talks replays. And then Friday is our live question and answer. So every morning on Friday morning, the TDF tribe gets to log in and they ask me a whole bunch of questions, right? And if I always say if I'm nowhere, so if I'm not on Instagram, which I haven't been since we finished the tour, I've been taking more time resting. I've been sending out a video every now and again. I'm gonna get better, I promise. But when I'm taking my downtime, if I'm not showing up online, I'm always with the Daily Fix. Okay. So if you ever want to work with me, the Daily Fix is where you want to be. You can do that by going to thedailyfix.co and join the tribe. All right, okay. All right, okay. All right, okay. All right. I'm excited about today's conversation. I'm going to hop on in because we have a lot of guests today. If you got a link from somebody or if somebody said, come watch this with me, just know that they sent it to you because they love you, okay? They want you to get some of what we're getting in the Daily Fix. Our saying in the Daily Fix is that the fix be fixing, okay? That's what we do. Every morning we log in because we are trying to grow a different part of ourselves, and growth is every day, not just when we feel like it, not when it's convenient. It's every day, okay? Now, the month of September, we introduced our new topic for the month of September. Every month, we cover a different topic, and we covered a lot of hard topics this year. Okay, we have covered a lot of hard topics. We've talked about healing, we've talked about overcoming old wounds, we've talked about embracing relationships again, learning how to trust ourselves. We've gone through a lot of different topics this month and this year. And so this month, I wanted to talk about leadership, right? What a lot of people don't realize, and I get a lot of questions a lot of the times from people, men and women, to figure out how to become center stage in their own life. Like they're trying to figure out, how do I get to a place where I am making decisions, and it feels like, I'm in the driver's seat of my life and life is not just happening to me, right? And so whether people realize it or not, Whether we realize it or not, you are a leader in your own life. And you're leading not just yourself, but you're leading the people around you, you're leading your families, you're leading without sometimes without a formal title. We talked about that yesterday. That having a title doesn't make you a leader. Having a title does not make you a leader, right? But we can show up as leaders in the roles that we live in and the roles that we occupy. And if you're not clear about the fact that I am a leader, you won't know how to operate. And I told you guys a quote yesterday that said, if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything, right? And so this is why we talked about your values and your beliefs yesterday. Because if you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. And this is how you get manipulated easily. This is how you get gaslighted. This is how you end up in self betrayal because I didn't have anything that helped me, that helped guide who I am as a person. And so I was just trying some stuff out. I was choosing to trust certain people. I was choosing to lean on certain people, and it didn't work out well. All right. So today, we're going to further the conversation that we started yesterday as we were talking about leadership. I did change the topic just a little bit because as I was doing my notes, leadership and integrity is important to me. We'll talk about what that is. But I wanted to talk about the capacity of the leader, right? Because as we are living in a time where self care is being promoted, we're living in a time where people are telling you that you got to focus on you and self love. And we may not always know what that means or what it looks like. So I want to talk about what is the capacity of the leader? Because being a leader for yourself first before you're a leader for others, it comes with a certain weight. And if you're not ready for what that weight is, you can find yourself crumbling underneath the weight. So if you are ready to hop in, let me hear you guys say, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Good morning, Morocco. I just saw Morocco in the chat. Uh, TikTok. I tell you, it's too many screens. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Tell me where y'all are from. There we go. I'm ready. Okay, TikTok says they are ready. Ready in the chat. Ready in the chat. I'm loving it. Ready in the chat. Oh, TikTok is fast. I like TikTok. Okay. I love it. Good morning, everyone. South Africa in the chat. Nigeria in the chat. Alabama. Slovenia, Tanzania, Cali, Maryland, Ghana. Okay. They say we're ready for another Heart Talks. Listen, can I get some rest, please? I'm resting for at least another month, and then we'll be announcing some amazing things, I promise you. Okay. Very good, very good. Before I hop in, I will let you guys know since y'all are on the public live session, I haven't posted it online yet. But if you want to, I'll give you the formal invitation to the Daily Fix Gala. Okay. We have our end of the year gala or beginning of the year gala every year in January in OK Weekend. It'll be a intimate dinner with myself and the Daily Fix family, the Daily Fix tribe. But we're celebrating that whole weekend going into our fourth year of the Daily Fix. And you're invited to come. Go to thedailyfix.co to get tickets. It'll be here in Houston, Texas, my hometown. And we're going to sit down and we're going to have a good conversation about what 2026 is, what it represents, and how to prepare ourselves for more in 2026. So that is the one event that I can let you guys know of now. The Daily Fix Gala is the big gala of the year for me every year. So you can get tickets at thedailyfix.co. And I'll see you there. I'll see you there. I'll see you there. All right. All right. Time to hop in. Time to hop in. Instagram says, we welcome you from the United Kingdom. I got to make my way over there. And Africa. We got to make our way international. Okay. So let me pull up my notes. So, if you guys remember, last month I made a statement that I want to expand on. I said that capacity, right? People think that, especially when you hear capacity, and you'll even hear it from me, right? You'll hear people say, I don't have capacity for that, right? I don't have capacity for this. I don't have capacity for that. And normally, when we hear capacity, what we are normally hearing is when people are setting their boundaries about what they can or can't do, or what their limits are. And so they'll be communicating to people the ways in which they are unable or sometimes even unwilling to show up for other people in their lives. And they have that right, right? They get to do that. The thing about capacity is that capacity speaks to, especially when we talk about leadership, capacity talks about the ways in which sometimes the roles and the titles that we support in our lives can disrupt our emotional foundation, right? The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because sometimes who you're called to be as a leader can outgrow your current capacity. Meaning, I can step into a larger role, I can step into more opportunity, I can step into more responsibility, and it can completely disrupt my emotional stability instead of promoting me, right? And I want you to think of leadership in terms of what happens when I get a new job, what happens when I have a new baby, what happens when I get married, what happens when I get in a new relationship. Every time I'm stepping into another role, I am in some way embodying a leadership position, right? And so I have to take time to actually explore, number one, what emotional labor does the new position require? That's first. What emotional labor does the new position require? Two, what internal conflicts will the new position expose? What internal conflict will the new position expose? And then the third thing is, what psychological shift do I need to make to be successful in this new position? What psychological shift do I need to make to be successful in this new position? Those are the three things that we're going to go through today, right? Because most people, when we get a new role, when we get a new position, we look at it and we do it, right? We'll shout and we'll praise God and we'll get excited and we'll um, throw a party sometimes and we'll celebrate the new role, we celebrate the new position, but we never stop and ask ourselves, what weight does this new position come with? Even the good things in my life come with a certain weight. And if I haven't adjusted who I am to match what the weight is, I will find myself crumbling, right? So when we get promoted, when we accept a new position in our life, period. And I'm saying new position to keep it general because I don't want you guys to think that I'm talking about a job. I don't want you to think that I'm talking about, um, you know, anything in the corporate or business world because again, leadership is in every area of your life, not just in places where you can get a title, right? So number one, we have to address the identity lag. We have to address the identity lag. When my outer spaces are no longer matching my inner life, right? Sometimes I can get a title, a role, or opportunity, and I don't have the emotional foundation to support it. This is where you can find people in leadership positions and they are very emotionally immature because they got promoted into a position, but emotionally they had not upgraded how they react, how they respond, how they communicate, right? And so now they're on a platform. Now they have visibility. Now they have influence. And most importantly, they have expectation from the people who they are leading, right? But their internal self image does not match how the world views them or what the world needs from them, right? When I have an identity lag, this is where you'll see a lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome. Okay? This is where you'll see a lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome because they know that who they are currently doesn't necessarily match what people see or what people expect from them on the outside. This is not always just a mindset issue. It's not as easy as saying different affirmations. This is why sometimes the affirmations aren't working. It's not as easy as telling myself some amazing things about myself and then I'll feel capable or then I'll feel better, right? When I have an identity lag, what I have to really process is what versions of myself either need to grow in order to successfully hold the weight of this role, or what versions of myself need to die in order to hold the weight of this role, right? When I got promoted, my coffee's good this morning. When I got when I got promoted, when I worked in the hospital and I got promoted into like my first official leadership position, it was always, I think every leadership position for me was always difficult because I got along with everybody, right? So when I got promoted into a leadership position, I was friends with the people who were other managers, right? But I was also friends with the people who were frontline staff or janitors. I was friends with everybody, okay? So, but the thing is, when you get promoted, you have to change how you move, you have to change how you think, you have to change how you navigate politics. And I remember one of my mentors told me, Brittany, you can't lead in management and you still have the mindset of the employee. How an employee addresses issues is very different from how a manager addresses issues. And so I had to learn to change how I saw myself because I just saw myself as regular Brittany. This is, I'm coming to work, doing my job. But if you're no longer that anymore. And a lot of people can have a hard time embracing, I'm no longer that anymore, right? And so if I'm no longer that, now I have to answer the question, well, if I'm not that, then who am I? And this is where we get into the question of, okay, now that I've accepted this new thing into my life, who do I need to become to maintain it? Right? This is why one of the reasons why relationships are so difficult. Because if I accept a new person into my life, if I accept a new relationship into my life, who do I have to become to maintain it? I don't get to accept these great opportunities and these great things into my life and think that they don't come with responsibility, right? As a leader, especially if I'm trying to lead with integrity, I have to hold myself accountable for constantly evolving so that I can consistently match where I am. If I'm being elevated externally, then you should see an elevation internally. And it's not always an easy elevation. It's not always an easy elevation. The one thing that we can always count on is that when we are talking about capacity and leadership, my second point, leadership is always going to serve as a mirror for your unhealed wounds. Leadership will always serve as a mirror for your unhealed wounds. This is why when a lot of people get a new role, whether it's at work, whether it's in your relationship, and even if it's in yourself, if you become an entrepreneur, if you um, go from single to relationship or couple to married, um, wherever you are in your life, many times the new role that you are embracing is going to reflect back to you your inner wounds that may or may not be healed, right? Whatever you have in you that is unhealed, it's going to shape your leadership style. This is why your leadership style will become a mirror of who you are on the inside. Your leadership style is always going to show what you believe about power, what you believe about safety, what you believe about trust, um, control, and worthiness, right? So, number one, If you are a leader and you have issues with control, issues with control, meaning, let's see, let me let me bring y'all to the carpet real quick. If you have issues with control, typically the behavior with control issues is one, you micromanage a lot. You don't let people make their own decisions. You have a trouble delegating. Um, you deep down don't trust other people with your vision. Um, and you have a hard time stepping away and just letting things flow, letting things be, right? Control issues typically pinpoint a fear of betrayal. Okay. So that means as a leader, if I have a hard time trusting my team to do what I've hired them to do what I've put them in places to do, if I have a hard time being in a relationship with someone and trusting them to be who they told me that they are, most times the control issue is pinpointing that there's a deep seated fear of betrayal. And this is why I will step in and I will micromanage and I will try to make things work and I will overcompensate. With control, you get real busy trying to make sure that things look a certain way or they don't fail in any way, right? Control issues is typically pointing towards a fear of betrayal or a fear of abandonment. So that means as a leader, if I haven't dealt with my fear of abandonment or the people who did abandon me, then I will show up as a leader who is very controlling with the people around me, my family, my friends, my coworkers. I will have to feel like I need to control everything around me in order for me to feel safe. And that can be draining for the people that you are leading. It's draining for you, quite frankly. It's draining for you just as much, right? But for the people around you, they will be on eggshells around you. They will not be honest with you. They will hide certain things, right? And some of them will become frustrated and resistant towards your leadership, right? Yesterday, all right, I'm gonna say that. Okay, so the second thing, um, leadership shows as a mirror. Typically, as a leader, if you have a hard time having hard conversations, meaning you avoid hard conversations. Leaders who avoid hard conversation are not honest. They don't give feedback frequently. They don't let people know how they're doing in their lives. They may set boundaries, but they don't hold them. They can be very passive aggressive, right? Because instead of having the hard conversation, they do things behind their back and it looks like they're manipulative and it looks like they're sneaky when really leaders who avoid hard conversations typically have a fear of rejection. Leaders who avoid hard conversations have a fear of rejection. This is why they are vague when you ask them about certain things. This is why they run away from conflict. They um, aren't clear in their communication because they are trying to avoid the blowback from being honest, right? They associate being honest or telling the truth with a loss of control or initiating conflict, right? And so these leaders, they look very, uh, I'll say incompetent from the outside looking in. They look incompetent from the outside looking in, but that's not always true that they're incompetent. Most times they can actually do the job very well, but what's holding them back is they have a deep seated fear of rejection. They would rather go into people pleasing instead of setting their boundaries. And so, if anything, if I had to work under a leader, I would hate to work under this leader because most times this leader is not giving you the information that you need to be successful, right? That's even in our relationships. If I'm in a relationship with someone and I am afraid to be honest with them about what it is that I need, I'm not giving them the information that they need to be successful in the relationship. So being passive, not being clear, not being straight to the point, not being direct, sets my team up to fail, right? This is why, as a leader, yesterday we talked about values. One of my values, especially when it comes to how I interact with other people, is say the hard thing, even if it may hurt their feelings, Even if they may be upset with me, even if they may not like it, say the hard thing so that if anything, we can adjust and we can save and we can probably manage the relationship if I'm just being honest, right? And if I'm being honest, and being honest means that we can no longer be in a relationship, then that's what that means as well. But I can't set my team up, I can't set the people around me up to be successful if I'm not being honest. All right. So leadership will serve as your mirror because it shows one, what control issue shows, fear of betrayal. Avoiding hard conversation shows your fear of rejection. Um, Over functioning is another symptom that you'll see in the mirror. Leaders who over function, you try to carry everybody's load. You try to make sure everybody else is taken care of. You show up big, right? It's not enough to just do the job. You got to do it in a big way, right? Um, you're never really resting. You don't even value rest. Leaders who overfunction don't value rest. And so they end up never taking it. Or if they do take it, they take it in a way that it's still working in some capacity, right? So you'll see overfunctioning in leaders and they'll say, I just love my job, or I'm just a workaholic, or I'm just, committed, I'm just dedicated. When most times the reason why people overfunction in leadership roles is because they are trying to prove their worth and prove their value. As a leader, I remember I had a young lady who worked underneath me, and she was amazing at her job. She did a wonderful job, right? But she would always send me emails on the weekends. She would send me emails after hours, like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And one day I asked her, I said, "Why are you working?" I said, "Why are you working during the hours that you're not supposed to be working?" And she'll be like, "Well, I just had to get it off. It was on my mind. I just had to get it off. I just had to sit, I was doing this and that." And so it was always a reason why she was always working, right? Whether it was weekends, whether it was nights, it didn't matter. And I told her, I said, me being who I am, and y'all have to learn, manager Brittany is very different from therapist Brittany. They overlap at times, but they're different. But I told her, I said, I said, if you drop dead tomorrow, all I'm going to do is put a for hire sign on the website. That's it. I said, there is no reward for you overworking yourself. I said, the job that you get done in your 8 hour time span is enough, right? And she was looking at me like, are you serious? I said, yes, because one, as a leader, I model the healthiness of my team, right? As a leader, I model the healthiness of my team. So if I value rest, then I can teach that to my team. So I told her, I said, well, when I'm off work, can you get a hold of me? And she was like, no. I said, you know why that is? Because I'm taking my time for me. That's my time for me, my family. It's my time for rest and rejuvenation. It's my time, right? I said, so if you haven't learned how to value your time and understand that in the 8 hour time frame, the work you do is good enough, what else do you have to prove, right? And she was able to learn, okay, I won because for her it was, let me show Brittany how good of a worker I am by working all these extra hours. And I told her that's great, right? I'm happy with the work that you produce in the time frame that you're contracted to produce it, right? And this is why, again, integrity. Many leaders would have never had that conversation with her, and they just would have benefited off of her overcompensating. They would have benefited off of her getting more than what she was being paid. They would have benefited off of her working herself into the ground. And the same thing I said, when she fell out because she was stressed or when she finally shut down, they would have just hired somebody else, right? Your leadership style, this is why I said yesterday, leadership starts with self before you ever lead anybody else. I have my own sense of ethics. I have my own code of conduct that dictates how I move in the world. So because I have my own code of conduct, Anytime I'm in, I am, anytime I am blessed, I always say leadership is a blessing, right? Anytime you are trusted to head over anyone, that is a responsibility, right? Anytime I'm giving that blessing of responsibility, I have to manage it in a way that is integral. And I say that I ask nothing of my team that I wouldn't ask of myself. So if I am asking something of my team that I'm not doing, that's out of integrity. And I wasn't going to work on the weekend or after hours. So there was no way that I was going to allow my team to do that, right? So I teach my team this is how we rest. We work hard when it's time to work hard, but when it's time to rest, when it's time to rejuvenate, we rest. And this is what rest looks like, right? Okay, so leadership will always be a mirror. This is why many people, when they get in relationships, the relationship was really great until we got engaged. The relationship was really great until we got married. The relationship was really great until we had the baby. Because what happens is all of those upgrades in the role creates a new level of responsibility and a new level of pressure. And everyone's character is not ready to sustain the weight of the new role. And this is why leadership, while everybody wants leadership and we want to lead and we want to be accountable, cool. But understand leadership comes with the weight of responsibility. And if you are not ready for the weight of responsibility, meaning your character has not developed for the weight, you haven't anticipated the weight, you will get the leadership role you were looking for, and then you will crumble. You will go into emotional dysregulation, which is where I'm coming to. All right. The reason why most leaders go into emotional dysregulation, I want you to think about all of the times you've heard online, and they will announce out of nowhere CEOs or people that we saw from the outside looking in who were really successful. They had the family, they had the job, and then out of nowhere, they commit suicide. Which suicide is September is Suicide Awareness Month, okay? So to all of my survivors of either an attempt or a family member who attempted or committed suicide, my heart is with you this month, okay? But when it comes to leadership, one of the reasons why you will see high functioning leaders who look like they have it all, who look like they have it all together, one of the side effects of a leader who has not addressed their own internal issues, you will see emotional congestion. They're leading while they have all of these unprocessed emotions. What happens is many leaders, especially in men, think of it as holding your breath. So you step into this leadership role, and it's like you start holding your breath so that you can hold your composure because there are stereotypes of a leader. If you're a leader, then you can't be weak, you can't show emotion, you can't be reactive, you can't let people down. And so you become this person who is not processing any of your emotions, you're not feeling any of your emotions because you're constantly putting out fires, you're showing up for other people, you're doing all the things that you think that you have to do to be considered a good leader, right? And so what you don't realize is that while you're holding your breath, you are suppressing all of your emotions. When I'm suppressing my emotions, I become emotionally congested because I have unprocessed grief. I remember there was a press conference years ago. I don't know who the man was. I just saw it on line somewhere. But he was I don't know if he worked in the White House somewhere, but he came to do a briefing, and all these people are asking him these questions about whatever the briefing was. And then one reporter asked him, "How's your wife doing? We heard she was in a car wreck." And the guy at the podium said, because he's very stoic, he's focused on giving his briefing, right? He goes, I'm not sure. It's reported that she was just in the car wreck. and she's at the hospital. I'm not sure of her condition at this time. And everybody's like, okay. So the reporter started asking more questions about his wife. Like, are you going to go to her? Asking her all these questions, right? And he goes, well, right now I have a job to do, so I can't focus on that. Can we please get back to the briefing? And I was like, oh, Jesus. Right? But that's a perfect example of how, because I have to be in my leadership position and focus on my leadership capacity, I will completely bypass the emotional trauma that I'm in right now. In this moment, it looked like the man was trying to hold back tears, right? That I am emotionally in chaos, but I have to suppress it so that I can do my job, right? So that I can show up. Women do this too. You emotionally suppress all your emotions because you got to show up for the kids and you got to take care of the family. So what happens is you push everything down so that I can perform, right? The thing is that just because you're not expressing it doesn't mean that it's not leaking out. It doesn't mean that it's not leaking out. So unspoken wounds lead to a disconnect in your tone. It leads to disconnect in your conflict, disconnect in your avoidance, and eventually you get exhausted, right? When you have become a leader who has not addressed your own wounds, eventually you shut down, or you a better word is you will combust, right? Because think of it as the volcano. When the volcano reaches a certain level of pressure, it erupts, right? And so if I build a life simply congesting my emotions, I am literally becoming a volcano that eventually will erupt. And the eruptions cause damage to your life. This is what I used to try to get when I worked with veterans, for all of you who don't know. I worked with combat veterans for almost 5 years, and all of them have been into combat. So when I'm teaching them emotional control and emotional regulation, they're not trying to hear none of it. They're like, first of all, whatever you're teaching me is stupid. Right? And it sounds stupid, right? Because when you have lived in a combat zone for almost 2 years, sometimes more, sometimes multiple tours in combat, when you've lived in that level of dysfunction and chaos and grief and despair, emotional regulation sounds stupid. Because survival makes sense. Not only does survival make sense, being in survival mode, being in fight or flight constantly makes sense, right? So I have to teach them that being in survival mode while in combat makes sense. Being in survival mode when you're home with your kids watching Netflix on a Friday night does not make sense, right? And so that's where I have to help them switch their psychological perspectives. How you lead in a battlefield is different from how you lead at home, right? And so I used to always tell them that if you are going to choose emotional suppression, because most of them, that's what they wanted to do. Like, I ain't got time to feel this. I don't want to feel the grief. I don't want to feel the anger. And so they wanted to just suppress everything. And I said, cool. If that's what you want to choose, we can choose that. But just know that when the eruption happens, everything you love is on the line. Everything you love is on the line when you choose emotional suppression, right? Because if my blow up means that I hurt my family, if my blow up means that I end my career, if my blow up means that I end my life, right? So I would always have to teach them that emotional suppression, while in the short term, it feels like a viable solution, we always end up paying for it at some point. We always end up paying for it, right? So, emotional congestion will happen when you are not processing your emotions. This is why, as a leader, you go into therapy. If you want to lead well, You have to have a system of checks and balances, right? I always say great leaders listen to great leaders. Great leaders have great leaders to talk to, right? The worst thing you could do is be a leader who's isolated. So I have to find a network, a team, a place where I can go and say, you know what? Stepping into this father role is actually suffocating me. You know what? Stepping into this wife role is actually suffocating me. You know what? I got the job I prayed for and I hate it. I have to have somewhere where I can go and allow myself to decompress so that all of the emotions that I have about the blessing of leadership, I can express those in a safe way. And I won't have to keep carrying that weight by myself. We have to have a place where we can decompress. Okay, let me get to the last point. My last point. Mm, mm. Is this helpful for you guys today? I promise y'all, I'm trying to look at so many different screens. Just, I'm doing the best I can with what I got. You know what? I need to double. I need to split monitor. That's what I need. I need to do the split monitor setup because I need to be able to see multiple things. Okay. The last point. The reason why this week, before we talk about leading other people and helping other people and all of that, I wanted us to really get clear on who we were, right? Get clear on who you are. I can tell you, every season of my life where I felt like I was elevated into something more or something bigger, before I accepted the role, right? Or before I got the phone call, or before somebody offered me the position, I promise you, there was always a season where I felt stagnated. Go with me. Go with me, okay? Every season before I got the next promotion, there was a matter. Sometimes it was a matter of months, right, or sometimes even a year, where I felt stagnated, and I would be like, God, why is like I felt because I always can feel when something's on the horizon, right? And I'm like, God, I know I felt it. Like, why am I not moving forward? Like, where's the door? Like, who's the somebody? Oh, somebody should have called me by now, right? And so I felt that the growth was on the horizon, or I felt that an opportunity was on the horizon, and it didn't show up. And so I go into this season of if it feels like stagnation. What I have learned is that it's not actually stagnation. It's one and first and foremost, it is a blessing, slowing me down so that I can get clarity before I'm promoted. Think of it like I don't ride roller coasters. I hate them. Okay. I think the person who invented them was just really inviting and inventing tools of torture. I don't like roller coasters. But on a roller coaster, you know how they put you on and they take you up, and so okay, I'm going. It's about to happen. It's about to happen, and so you get excited because it's about to happen, right? And then it pauses, right? It stops. And you're just sitting there and you're just waiting, like, hey, I thought we were about to go. And something has to happen because I couldn't have gone this far for nothing to happen, right? But it's that pause before you go on whatever the ride is going to be, right? That pause is for you to get clarity on who you are before you step into what's next. It feels like stagnation. It feels like I'm being held back. It feels like I'm not moving forward. But the blessing of that pause is so that you can take a deep breath and get clear on who am I? What is important to me? What do I actually value? What do I like? What do I not like? What do I want at this season of my life? What are my compromises? Yesterday we talked about my non-negotiables. That pausing place is where you're able to get clear on, you know what? The follow count ain't important to me. You know what? The only thing I want to do is make impact. You know what? I'm not willing to sacrifice my rest for more money. You know what? I actually want to be closer to my family and spend more time with my family. It's in the pause that I'm able to get clear on who I am so that when the opportunity shows up, I'm walking into the opportunity with a developed character for the opportunity, a developed character for the opportunity. I am always grateful for the fact that when I got certain opportunities, my character had developed to a place that I could handle the opportunity correctly. I could handle it responsibly. That I wasn't in there. I didn't compromise my integrity. I didn't go in on a power trip. I didn't go in thinking that I was better than other people. I went in with a developed character that allowed me to handle the people that I was responsible for, but to also walk with grace through that opportunity, no matter what happened. Right? My character was developed before I got the position. So, in the seasons where you feel like you're stagnated, I want to reframe that for you that sometimes this is a pause before the door opens so that you can get clear on who you are. We see it time and time again where people get they go viral, and so they get success because they went viral, and then 2 to 3 months later they did something that completely put everything that they earned in jeopardy because they got something before their character was developed. They got the money before their character was developed, and so that's why they squandered it all. They got the position before the character was developed, and that's why they went in and they were abusive to the people that they were supposed to oversee. Because you got something, but there wasn't a character development season. And this is what makes great leaders, not just in your job, not just in your career, but I'm talking about in your relationships with the people you love, with the people that you give birth to, the people that you got raised. Who are you as a leader across the board? And is your character developing as you're accepting more responsibility? Understand this. For everything that you say yes to in your life, your character must develop to sustain it. For everything that you say yes to in your life, who you are, your morals, your values, your belief systems, your non negotiables, all of those have to mature if I gave it my yes. And that's why we can get things we prayed for and we're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And sometimes it's exactly what you thought it was going to be. You didn't think that you would have to grow as much as you had to grow in order to keep it. So you got what you wanted. You got the person you wanted. You got the girl you wanted. You got the guy. You got the family. You got the career. You got the business. You got everything you asked for. But you have to grow to maintain what you asked for. That's just what it is. There's no way around it. Right? So this is why I'm very intentional about what I say yes to. There's many people I say no to because I know that I don't have the capacity to grow in that area right now. Right? I'm like right now, if I give them a yes, I know that it's going to require more of me over here, and that's not something I can say yes to at this time. Right? I have learned I have to say yes to what I want to do. Because otherwise, I will show up in situations that will be difficult for me because as a leader, I'm very big on if I give you my word, I'm going to follow through. I'm very big on my word is my bond, right? So if I say something, I got to do it, right? And if I can't do it, I'm going to let you know, unfortunately, you know, I'm not going to be able to make it happen. But I will try through hell and high water to make it happen. That's one of my values as a leader, right? You have to be able to trust me and trust that I'm going to follow through. So I'm very intentional about what I give my yes to. So for this reason, okay, as a leader, I give more no's than I give yeses. I give more no's than I give yeses. I want you to understand that as a leader, capacity is not a fixed trait. It is something that you build and you grow through self awareness, emotional regulation, and boundaries. Many times, what I have seen is that the reason why we have low capacity is not necessarily that we don't have support. It's not necessarily that we don't have effort, right? Because many times we're trying to push ourselves to do more or be more. And when I've learned that many times the lack of capacity is more about putting effort, time, and attention in things that are no longer in alignment. Like if you look, and this is why I'm always, it's like I'm always doing spring cleaning because I'm very clear that what was in alignment in 2025 may not be in alignment in 2026. What was in alignment in January may not be in alignment by the time I get to October, right? So I'm always asking myself, like, does this still serve a purpose? Does this still feel good to you, right? For my OG tribe members, you guys know I design a life that feels good to me. I design a life that I want to live. I design a life that I get excited to wake up to, not a life that feels like obligation and responsibility, right? That's my promise to myself. So I'm always looking to see, okay, does this still work for you? Is this still something you want? I have a right to change my mind. I have a right to say, I don't want this no more. I have a right to say, I don't really like that no more, right? So I can always make a new decision about who I want to be, how I want to live, what I want to be a part of, right? But in order to do that, I have to give myself permission to constantly clean out my house, right? I have a saying, I pack light. I pack light. I don't take a lot of baggage with me from season to season. I take what's necessary. I take what needs to go. I take the foundation, but all the extra stuff is optional. I ain't got to take it with me. It ain't got to come, right? Giving myself permission to constantly evolve and grow because I pack light, right? Especially in terms of identity. If you are committed to growing your identity, you'll have a foundation. You have a core foundation of who you are, but as you are continuing to grow and blossom, your identity has to be something that is constantly being modified, constantly being upgraded, right? It's like your phones. Every year they come out with a new phone. Every year they come out with something upgraded, right? My identity is constantly upgrading, one, because I'm learning more about myself. I'm being exposed to different things every day. I'm learning life lessons whether I want to or not, right? So as I am constantly growing, my identity gets to change, it gets to shift, it gets to evolve because what I knew about myself 2 years ago is very different from what I know about myself today. And if I'm only loyal to what I used to be and what I used to do and who I used to how I used to show up, I'll never fully love this expression of me. This expression of me is free because I was willing to release the old expression. I was willing to say that old version. I love them too. It served a purpose. I loved who I used to be. Okay. She was silly. She made a lot of bad decisions, but the decisions made sense in the moment. Okay. And I don't condemn her for making bad decisions. I don't condemn her for being in self betrayal. I understand why that version of me was important. I understand why that version of me was needed so that this version could come to the surface, right? As a leader, from today's conversation, because I feel like I went off on a tangent, today's conversation, I want you to take away more than anything, right? To embrace leadership in every area of my life, I have to embrace the weight of leadership. There's a responsibility of leadership. Everything you say yes to comes with responsibility. Am I growing? Am I evolving so that I can hold the weight of what it is that I want in my life? Can I be trusted with a person? Can I be trusted with a team? Can I be trusted with more money? Can I be trusted with more obligation? Can I be trusted with more responsibility? Do you trust you before you ask somebody else to trust you? Before you ask somebody else to let me lead you? Before you ask somebody else to come on my team? Are you somebody you would follow? Okay. So that is our conversation for today, you guys. Now, y'all know we were talking about the leadership of self this week. Next week, we're going to expand leadership into other areas of our lives. If you're just now joining in from TikTok or Instagram, hey, y'all. You just got a whiff of what happens in a daily fix every morning, right? Monday and Tuesday, I'm coaching. Wednesday, we have a guest speaker. Thursday is Heart Talks replays. So if you're like, I really want to watch the full Heart Talks episode, um, then join the dailyfix.co, join the Daily Fix at thedailyfix.co, and you can watch all of the Heart Talks replays, even from the ones in 2024. Go to the dailyfix.co to sign up. When you sign up, you get access to over 200 hours of content. Like we've been doing the Daily Fix for over, this is our third year. It's a lot of content in the Daily Fix. So whatever it is that you're working on right now, I guarantee you we've addressed it in the Daily Fix, and you can learn and you can grow. But most importantly, you get access to me every Friday because Fridays are our live question and answers. So if you feel like you're stuck and you just want to know my take on it, or you need some feedback, or you need me to help you kind of walk through, like, how do I handle this? That's what our Friday calls are for. But the most important thing is that when you join the Daily Fix, you get access to a beautiful community of people worldwide. Okay, we got people from Austria, Kenya, the UK, Australia, Nigeria, Jamaica. We got a little bit of everybody in the Daily Fix, okay? And we are a true community that is focused on healing, building, just evolving, right? And I always say, the tribe always reflects the heart of the leader. And my biggest flex is the people that we have in the Daily Fix because all of them reflect the heart of the work that I do. Okay. So I love you guys. I want y'all to have an amazing Monday. Go ahead and join the Daily Fix so that you can be with us every morning. All right. Go to the dailyfix.co to join. I think there's a QR code. Is there a QR code? There we go. Click the QR code to join the Daily Fix because we're here every day. All right. And if you have any questions, you can always just shoot us an email, tftribe@gmail.com, and we will see you. All right. So to all of my Daily Fix people, I will see you guys back here tomorrow for our next session. Let's see, today's Tuesday. So I want you to have a tantalizing Tuesday. Have a tantalizing, terrific Tuesday. Have a all the T words are coming up bad. Hold on. Terrific, tantalizing. Um, is there another T word that's good? Okay, I'm gonna have to get in my dictionary. So y'all have a wonderful Tuesday, and I will see